What's up, MIP family? It's your boy Bravo Charlie, and I'm back with another video. What's up, guys? It's been kind of a rough day, man. Lost my next door neighbor. He passed away. It's kind of rough for me specifically because that's the second next door neighbor that I've lost within a 2-year period. The next door neighbor that was just to the south of me was a younger man. I know that he and his old lady were having problems and they were constantly into it. He was thinking that she was cheating and doing things outside of the norm. And one day it was like 8 in the morning and she was outside screaming hysterically. And me being me and hearing them all the time, I thought that, like majority of the time they were just tripping. So the yelling and the screaming didn't stop, and I noticed that it was just her that was screaming. He wasn't actually screaming or he wasn't yelling. I didn't hear his voice. So I walked outside, walked out into my driveway out into the street, and walked down the street towards their driveway. And when I got towards their driveway, I looked down their driveway because they didn't have a car in the driveway. They didn't own a car at the time. I looked down the driveway and I see her in the backyard, where the driveway leads to the backyard. I see her standing there hysterical, and she looks and she sees me and she's screaming, "Help me, help me." And, I didn't know at the time what had happened. Anyhow, I go up the driveway, and as I'm, approaching her, I ask her what's going on, what's happening. And she was like, "I need help, help me," you know what I mean? And the further up the driveway I got, it became clear why she was actually hysterical. The young man actually hung himself from our fence row. So the fence row that separates their backyard from my backyard, we have trees along that fence row, and he actually hung himself from one of those trees. So by the time I got back there, I was trying to lift him up. I didn't really look at him, in all honesty. It was cold outside. I didn't look at him. I was just trying to lift him up so we could get, the makeshift noose from around his neck. He used an extension cord. Well, while I was lifting him up, I just so happened to catch a glimpse of his face, and he's a light-skinned fella. He's not much. He's about my complexion. When I actually got a chance to look at his face, he was already blue. I mean, he had been dead for some time. A couple of hours at least. So that was the first neighbor that I found deceased. And then my next door neighbor to the north of me obviously passed at some point over the weekend, and we just found him on Tuesday. So, I came home, I was with my stepdad, we were at another rental property, and when I came home, my neighbor from across the street and then my next door neighbor's best friend was over there along with his cousin, and they were all standing in the front yard, and they asked me, "Hey, have you seen him? Have you talked to him?" And I was like, "No, man, I was wondering about him just the same because I haven't seen him coming or going." Well, needless to say, my neighbor across the street got a hold of his ex-girlfriend, who told him where a spare key was in a planter in the front yard. So we found the key. Me and his cousin, initially his cousin went in, and we all waited outside, and his cousin came back and, thought he said, "I think he's gone. He's not moving." And I asked him, "Did you check for a pulse?" And he said no. So me and his cousin went in, and sure enough, he was laying on the bed. Man, the guy looked like he was just taking a nap. Like he laid down to take a nap. Where he was laying and on the bed was like, it looked like he had just got out the shower, and he didn't feel well, so he just laid down for a little bit to take a nap, or laid down and just didn't get back up. But went in to check for a pulse. He didn't have a pulse, and by the time I was done checking for a pulse or whatever, and calling his name, that's when the police showed up and made everyone step out of the house. Guys, it's rough, man. I didn't know the neighbor to the young man to the south of me. I didn't know him very well, but we've had interactions. So we've talked, we've talked on several occasions, and he was a good kid. I mean, I call him a kid. He was probably, I'd say, at the most, at least 10 years younger than me. So I say he's a good kid because he was trying, and he got hell from her. You know what I mean? And it's no excuse, but he was going through hell, and I felt bad for him. I mean, it had got to the point where one night he came over and knocked on the door and asked me if I could come out and speak with him for a little bit, and I did. And he was asking me if I had seen, any vehicles or anybody at his house that I normally wouldn't see over there. And, just to be honest with him, I told him, I was like, dude, I mind my own business. I don't even pay attention to the cars that pull up at your house. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't know if someone was there that wasn't supposed to be there. And he was like, okay, so, that's fair. So, we talked a little bit, and he was just telling me about how he was going through it. And, the way that he was feeling. Now, he never mentioned that he was thinking about harming himself or anyone else. But he just told me that he was pretty much going through it in his heart, you know what I mean? And I expressed to him, man, no one should have to live that way. If you're not happy, you know what I mean? Regardless of how much love you have for someone, if you're not happy, if you're genuinely not happy, then you have every right to protect your heart and protect yourself. And if you're not happy, it's probably time you do something different, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, I think that advice just came too little too late. And then my neighbor to the north of me, he was a good guy, man. Like, I mean, a lot of days, he and I would sit on his porch and shoot the shit. We might have a drink, you know what I mean? And we just sit out there and talk, Neighbor from across the street would come over and sit with us. Now, you got to keep in mind that this neighbor to the north of me, the reason why it bothers me so much is because I've known this guy since I was like a teenager. I mean, like around 14, 15 years old. Used to be in the neighborhood and would come see him, you know what I mean? And I've known him for a long time. And then I moved in over here, and for the past 6 years, we've been neighbors. And we've interacted, hung around, hung out, watched games and stuff like that together, sit and drink and laugh and talk and all that stuff. It's what we did, you know what I mean? So, it's kind of rough, man. The only thing I like to say to you guys is, be sure to love your loved ones, man. Let them know you love them, I can only imagine how rough, how scary it is to die alone, I mean, I understand you come in the world alone and you leave alone, but, I mean, if you have the opportunity, even if you just think about someone that you love, someone that you care about, a lot of times we'll think about someone that we love or care about, but we won't even take the initiative or take the time to make a simple phone call just to reiterate that love to that person and let them know, like, man, look, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit. Just do that, man. Love on your loved ones, man. Life is short. This thing we take for granted called life, man, it is so short, and you never know when your day is coming, man. MIP family, I love you guys, man. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you guys being there. More videos are gonna come. I'm gonna, try to get in the groove and shoot some more footage today for other videos that I want to post. I just ask that you guys bear with me. Please feel free to drop down in the comment section. I want to have a Q&A at some point. So feel free on this video to drop down in the comment section and ask me any questions. I'm not saying I'll answer everything that you ask, but if it's something that I can answer, I will. Man, guys, peace, love, and happiness. It's your boy Bravo Charlie, and I'm out.